D.A. Kolodenko is willing to go to great lengths to see a movie, especially if it's a film noir.
Last year I was on a road trip down to the tip of Baja, and while I was in Cabo San Lucas, it occurred to me that maybe there were Mexican noir films. I'd never seen any, and so I started investigating and discovered these Cabaretera films. They're very much like American noir films. They have lots of chiaroscuro lighting. They have the shadows and the contrasts and the black and white and the camera angles, and they have all of these motifs of noir films, but then they also have lots of mambo, lots of super highly charged melodrama and lots of sex, and they're just such interesting movies.
One of those interesting films was Sensualidad, but he couldn't find any subtitled prints, so he decided to subtitle it himself with the help of friends.
We're getting there. We took a lot of care to make sure that it was a good translation.
I mean, this sounds like it's translating the idea of what she's saying, and then this doing the tab is more, it's literal.
It's more literal. Sometimes you see a subtitled film and the subtitles just don't really seem to reflect the meaning. They're just sort of very direct. So like the word road can fit in this kind of country scene, but the word street feels inappropriate. To me, streets are paved, you know? Mm-hmm. But what we tried to do is to capture the spirit of what the characters were saying and singing about, and also the spirit of the time.
Well, it was very tedious. It's a lot of work, pausing and going back and listening over and over and over again to these words that you didn't hear correctly or you don't know exactly what they mean.
There was this whole group of like expatriate Mexicans who came to Hollywood to be in the film industry in the 1930s, and in World War II Hollywood stopped making a lot of films, and so a lot of these filmmakers and actors and cinematographers went back to Mexico. There was an opening for Mexicans to start making their own national cinema. The Cabaretera genre is sort of a subgenre of a wider set of films in Mexico from the era called the Rumbera film. And these are films that are basically musicals with lots of South American, Mexican, Cuban music and dancing. But a few of these filmmakers decided that it would be interesting to set these films inside the sort of burgeoning new urban nightlife scene. So the nightclubs of places like Mexico City and Chihuahua. They started making these films in these nightclubs, and they would use the Rumbera format.
Which gave the filmmakers an excuse to stage musical numbers on scale with MGM.
In the context of the film, it's a tiny little club, the curtain parts, and you're suddenly transported to this surrealistic imaginary landscape, just like an American musical.
The star of both Aventurera and Sensualidad, the films playing this Saturday at the Digital Gym, is Cuban blonde bombshell Ninon Sevilla.
I would hesitate to say that she's a good actress because she clearly has no training, and she overacts constantly. She always seems to be playing to the back of the room instead of the camera, and yet she seems to believe in her character so much that it's just absolutely riveting and compelling and believable. She would always play a dancer / prostitute from the wrong side of the tracks who has to overcome some obstacles, usually in the form of pimps and unscrupulous madams who are trying to, take advantage of her. And through her ability to dance and her sheer determination and spunk, she's able to either rise up and destroy the people that captured her, or avenge the people who wronged her.
Caramba! When she plays the good girl, she's not that great of an actress, but in these roles, she does such a good job. She's so likable, even though she's the bad girl. And oh man, watching her dance is incredible. She's such a good dancer, and she's got great legs.
American noir always had memorable femme fatales, but they were usually subordinate to a male protagonist. But in Mexican noir, the women were often the leads.
She may be a femme fatale, but in the Mexican films, she's often overcoming these hardships, and she'll be so strong and not take abuse from anyone, or if she does, she'll find a way to get back at them.
Kolodenko is excited to premiere a new translation of Sensualidad this Saturday, and to introduce people to a pair of Mexican noir films that have rarely, if ever, screened with subtitles in the U.S.
For Americans who only think of noir films as an American genre, I think they'll be pleasantly surprised that these Mexican films are really, truly noir films, but then they also have all of these really very Mexican elements that make them actually quite entertaining, maybe more entertaining than a lot of American films.
Beth Accomando, KPBS News.